Everyone, I'm Caris Lambert, the Digital Content Manager here at Morpay. Welcome to this unique webinar we've made for professionals working in payroll, which is part of our new Payroll Careers series designed to help you excel in your role. It's quite a special webinar we've got today. So in our webinar, we'll be talking to our panel of payroll industry experts who will share their insights into their unique careers, so you can learn more about how to progress in your own career and get some inspiration. So after I've introduced all your panelists today, we'll hear insights from the 4 themes, which are the power of people, transferable skills, building for the future, unearthing opportunities, and then finally a Q&A where you can ask your own questions. And just how to ask a question for your panelists today. You should see a little panel pop up on your screen and you can pop your question in there. Just please include the name of your panelist so you know who you want to talk to. And also don't worry if you are taking notes during this or anything like that, because we will send you a copy of the presentation slides and a video recording of today, so that you can listen back and glean all the insights that you need from it. And just a tiny bit about Morpay before we get started. So we've been around for nearly 60 years now, and our mission is to make payroll and HR easy. All of these reasons on the slide is why our customers choose us, from our secure technology to our trusted team who you'll be hearing from today. And of course, our industry awards, including the Payroll Service Provider of the Year award that we won with the CIPP just this week, which is exciting news. And yeah, we make payroll and HR easy through easy-to-use software and quality services, which means worry-free compliance for you. If you'd like to learn more about us, then just in the chat you can put your question, and one of our advisors can follow up after. Our panelists today, we've got 4 amazing senior people, 3 of which in Morpay, and also Vicky Graham from the CIPP with us, so it's a very exciting webinar. So Vicky Graham is the Business Development Director at the CIPP. Her career has gone through marketing in CIPP into business development in the payroll industry, so she has a very unique insight into the payroll industry. As you can see, she's grew her career in the CIPP, working up through various marketing roles before becoming head of business development in 2018. She's studied at the CIN to achieve her marketing qualifications at the start of her career. Years later, she's a business development director, where she raises the profile of payroll, pensions and reward, basically being a key thought leader in payroll in the UK, as well as leading CIPP's marketing efforts and commercialisation. So Vicky, just the first question for you. Obviously you have a role where you're meeting loads of high-flying payroll professionals. What have you found to be the most enduring quality successful payroll professional that you've met in your career?
Most enduring quality, I think it's got to be the passion that all payroll professionals bring to the role. They truly understand that what they're doing affects people's livelihoods, that being paid accurately and on time every time literally helps people manage their day-to-day lives and their expenses, as well as keeping the economy paid and the UK running. And they've just got such a passion and desire to do that and do that well, not just from a compliance point of view, but also looking at the different things that they can bring into the payroll function, the different benefits that can be offered so that people can get more from the pay. So I think that the dedication, the passion and the determination to do that is just really endearing.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. And I think what I love about that is you can build skill when you've got the passion. You can build skills that you need to, you know, and everyone can take that forward. So thank you for that. Our second panelist here in the room with me today is Dudley Barber, Head of Professional Services and Software Support at Morpay. And Dudley started his career in financial services at Capital One. And in his 15 years there, he managed service operations teams, suppliers, and was program manager and led payment services as well. So he's had tons of different roles within that same space. And then he moved to PayPlan as head of operations, and then a fintech startup specialising in open banking. And he joined Morpay in 2021 to lead our managed payroll, support, and payment services operations. And he's now head of professional services support, responsible for implementation, technical consultancy, and support, and our software as a service payroll teams. So Dudley, you manage a big team, and I wondered if you could tell us what's the key things you look for in your people managers when you think about promotion.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I look for lots of different things, but I think the most important thing is, but it's a diverse skill. So I think payroll is, well, even the 2 years I've been working in payroll, it's changed a lot. So it's constantly evolving. So we need people that are going to be able to adapt and move with the ever-evolving world of payroll. So, for example, like technology, digital is becoming a big part of it. But then you need people as well that are not going to move away from those core skills that you need. So I think Vicky summed it up really well around like accuracy and timely. So you need people that are very organised, very disciplined, that are going to deliver that with a reliable service. So it's a tough environment to work in. You've got that huge responsibility. So you need people that care, to be able to deliver every week, every month, depending on what the payroll is. But then also people that are dynamic and nimble, that are going to be able to move with the change that is happening and more to come.
Yeah, that's very good. That's quite a multifaceted skill set. But yeah, good, very good pitch. Thank you. Yeah, and then we've got Victoria Horrocks also in the room with me. So Victoria started her career in retail as an administrator at Comet and then duty manager at Dunelm and joined Morpay in 2015. 8 years here, she's worked in the auto enrollment, CRM, and the customer care teams. And she became an implementation manager, where she manages Morpay's implementation teams and ensures our new customers are onboarded successfully right up to their first live pay run. So she's been in lots of different teams and has a really wide experience across the business. So Victoria, how was your experience in different departments giving you the advantage when it comes to progressing at Morpay?
I think starting off in auto enrollment, it gave me the basics of the business and the industry, understanding the company culture, establishing soft skills, teamwork and communication, and then moving through to customer care and CRM, which was working across different departments, helped me gain a broader perspective. It helped me foster a better understanding of how various parts of the business interact and how decisions impact other areas. I then took on the continuous improvement manager, which is obviously facing big challenges and solving complex problems, which is another significant contributor to my personal growth, skill development, and that taught me how to adapt, innovate, and think critically. So by sidestepping through a business, it's made me realise that understanding industries and businesses are constantly evolving, especially in payroll. Being open to change and embracing new technologies, methodologies, and practices was vital for staying relevant and advancing in my career.
Yeah, great, and that's actually a theme we're going to touch on later. Very relevant. And last but certainly not least is David McLaughlin, our senior lead developer here at Morpay. David is an experienced software engineer with a history working in the HR industry. So when he graduated in computer science and mathematics, he built his career in over 23 years at NGA HR as a software engineer before moving to Morpay where he's had a variety of similar project-related roles. As David's job as senior lead developer is to translate the payroll legislation and calculations into our product. He knows payroll legislation absolutely inside out, and he's a go-to person when you ever need anything clarifying. So David, you've spent like a long time developing your career in one business. And I just wondered, what was the main reason you wanted to change and you switched more?
Yes, it's been a long time in the one business. I think mainly it was I've had the opportunities to learn and to grow, and I've been lucky and I've not needed to look elsewhere for those opportunities. So yeah, constantly learning. As Dudley was saying, you know, payroll's always changing, so you need to keep up with that. As a developer, software is always changing, so it's always keeping on top of what's going on, and that can be difficult when the day job is full on and you know, you're very busy with what you're doing. But you know, it's very important to make sure you still learn what's happening and what's coming up in the future.
Very true. Thank you for that. So yeah, all these panelists, I think, provide some really good examples of kind of alternative careers, but within the payroll industry that you might not initially expect when you think of like payroll careers. And all of them are in senior positions, leading business. We've got loads of great insights, so you can think about which route you're going down, whatever it may be. I think it's all quite transferable. So we've categorized a few of our panelists' insights into themes today. And the first one is the power of people. And we're starting off with Vicky Graham. So Vicky, why is networking important in your opinion to advance within this industry?
Thanks. So I can hear so many people going, oh God, I hate networking. I'm really shying away from it because it's not something that comes naturally to a lot of people. I think networking is really important in any career, but especially payroll. So just heard from my other panelists, Dudley and David and Victoria, talking about how payroll is ever changing and how legislation's changing all the time. Technology is changing all the time. I've been in payroll in the industry for over 20 years now. So I've been at CIPP since 2003, and the amount of change that has come in that time has been phenomenal. So I haven't actually processed a payroll since prior to 2003. It would be very, very different now. But in my role at CIPP, I need to understand all of the complexities and all of the requirements that are relating to processing payroll now, related to managing payroll now, related to the technology that is there to support payroll professionals, and of course the legislation. So networking is a really important aspect of that. It's almost like having a cheat sheet on how to keep up with things that are going on, because if you can build a professional network outside of your organisation, whether you're a sole practitioner within an organisation and the only person who understands and is responsible for payroll, and therefore you want to build a network so you've got support and other people who understand your challenges, or whether you're in a large payroll team in an organisation with other payroll professionals, but want to build your network to understand what's going on outside that team and outside that organisation. These are both really important and really valid reasons for building that network, because you should always be looking at what else is going on, who else can I learn from, but also who else can I support with the experiences that I've got within my organisation. So last week, you know, you mentioned you were very successful, and congratulations in achieving the award that you did at the CIPP Awards. That ceremony takes place alongside the 2-day annual conference, where networking, that's one of the main reasons for attending. You're at a 2-day residential conference. You are literally kind of having breakfast, lunch, dinner, workshop sessions, networking breaks with 300, 400 people who are all within the payroll industry. So you're learning from the speaking sessions, but you're also learning from the other delegates. And that's really important. For those that aren't comfortable in that environment, nowadays, social media or CIPP membership, we have online professional networks and closed networks where you can build those relationships and think about, okay, what can I learn from other people, but also how can I share my experiences to help others in the industry grow their careers and change things within their organisations as well.
I think it will inspire lots of people to have a look at events around them, especially the CIPP events, which we personally love, but maybe we're a little biased on. And Dudley, a question for you on the power of people. Why do you believe making payroll personal is a secret to success? I know we've discussed this previously.
Okay, right. I think everyone on this webinar probably payroll professionals. I assume we are. So we're unsung heroes. There's a huge responsibility to ensure that everyone is paid on time and accurately, as Vicky and I said earlier. So if you really think about that impacts people on a personal level. So we're here to ensure employees can provide for their families, pay their bills, and plan for their future. So that people element is huge. So it's a huge responsibility. So when we think about payroll, I think a lot of people just automatically assume process, but actually there's this people element. So it's around like connecting with your clients and the employees on that personal level. So as payroll professionals, we're like directly contributing to this. So that stability, making a positive impact on the well-being of others, it's something that really, really drives me. So it's that profound sense of purpose that really attracted me to payroll, to be honest. So prior to moving to More Pay, I got involved in a startup. So it's a fintech startup, but they had a real sense of purpose, trying to use technology for good. So we helped people in financial difficulty get back on track. When I decided to move on, what was really important to me is I moved into a role or a sector that had that real sense of purpose, and payroll, I think it ticks all those boxes. And then since being at More Pay, I think it already had a very customer centricity culture anyway. So that's again part of the reasons why choosing More Pay. But trying to drive that through my teams is really what I'm all about. So it's about building relationships with all of our clients and employees that we serve, so building that trust, and then really constantly striving to improve that client experience. So payroll, obviously it's really important that we provide consistent service. Quality is fundamental, ensuring our payroll services are accurate, avoiding errors and no delays. And I think that lays the foundation of trust, but then it's about how do you take that to the next level. So how do you build those relationships? So we spend a lot of time talking to our clients. So we've got an NPS program where we survey our clients, and anyone that responds to that, good or bad, we'll pick up the phone and we'll talk to them, and we'll try and connect to try and drive those continuous improvements. So so the big chunk of my week is talking to clients, and the same for my team as well. And I think really what we're trying to do from those interactions when we're talking to people is to truly understand our clients' needs, and then what we can then do is to try and provide tailored solutions. I think we're in a world now where one size doesn't fit all. So by having those interactions, you can truly understand what it is our clients need, and tailor the service which is applicable to those. And ultimately, if you can do that, so deliver a reliable service, like develop that trust, connect with the clients, and like communicate well with them to really understand their needs, it really leads to a stronger payroll business. So I think at Morepay, I think running through everyone here is that real commitment and desire to serve clients and their best interests. I think the only way you can do that is that personal touch.
Yeah, and I like that, because when you think about payroll processing, you're thinking about, well, when I think of like calculations and maths, and it seems quite process driven, but actually put into context the personal relationships and keeping that user in mind who's getting that pay every month, and that really make it feel more significant.
Exactly. Yeah, and payroll will go wrong from time to time, and it's important that if it does, that's where you need to be at your best, with the personal touch. So you need to like connect with the client, the employee, to I guess explain what happened, and we build that trust and make sure it doesn't happen again. So yeah, from a skill perspective, yes, we look for people that are great at process, have got the payroll knowledge and expertise, but we also look for like great communicators, people that can interact with the clients.
Yeah. Thanks, that's great. Our theme is transferable skills. Victoria has got this in spades, having been in so many departments in Morepay. So I'd love to just learn a bit more about that and how sidestepping into these different roles for your career and great success, essentially.
So I think it's a couple of things when sidestepping, and sidestepping is not always a bad choice to develop your expertise. So become an expert in your field and continuously upgrade your knowledge and skills. Like Vicky said, network strategically, build a strong professional network, and cultivate relationships with peers, mentors, and leaders in the industry. Personal branding is a big thing when going for different roles within the industry. To create yourself a personal brand that highlights your strengths and your unique qualities. Communication is key for me, whether that's with customers, whether that's internal, developing strong communication skills and being able to articulate your ideas clearly and persuasively is crucial. Embrace challenges, don't shy away from difficult projects or problems. Like Dudley said as well, continual learning, to stay curious and committed to ongoing learning, show that you're open to technologies, and to promote yourself in a professional and humble manner, share your accomplishments and contributions with the right people. By consistently demonstrating your expertise, leadership and value, you can position yourself as the obvious choice when the opportunities arise, which is like, so the side steps then become the up steps. Your reputation and track record will speak for themselves, which will make you a solid for roles.
They're all great and actionable insights that people can take. And I think something Dudley touched on as well is this idea that payroll professionals can sometimes be the unsung heroes. Less now that we've got CIPP and awards and National Payroll Week, but I think being able to champion how important payroll is within your company or role within the industry is key, and making sure it's, as you said it so nicely, professionally but humbly known.
Yeah.
It is, David, on to you on transferable skills. So you've got so much payroll knowledge, and I wondered, how does that help you succeed in other areas of the business, obviously in product and development that you're in?
Yeah, it's funny actually, just as Vicky was saying, it's that if you have the knowledge and you're happy to apply it, then it makes moving to different positions much easier. Just to sort of go through my sort of track record, as it were. You know, when I started in payroll development, we had different teams with very set roles. The legislation team defined what needed changing. The products team then said how that was going to affect each of the individual products, and then that was given to the developers, who then went away and made those changes. Now that could take forever. Even the slightest change would take weeks. As the internet became sort of a tool we used at work, we found that as developers, we started to sort of sidestep the process. And for example, the budget, when that was in March, and the changes were due in May, we just didn't really have enough time, the old way of doing it. So as soon as we got the budget, we go online, we get the information from HMRC or Inland Revenue as it was back then, and make the changes and get them all ready, and just then sort of to be rubber stamped by the legislation and product teams. I must admit, the legislation team especially were not impressed at that at all. Later on we had a reorganization, and through that, developers needed to be aware of payroll legislation. Not every developer, but we needed some developers with that payroll legislation knowledge. And as anyone who deals with legislation will understand, that really isn't for everyone. But I'm the sort of person who likes to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and so that was perfect for me. Slightly less of the coding, sat at the keyboard, and slightly more learning about payroll. And it's quite strange in that because I'd taken that step back, I was then able to spend more time looking at new technologies as well as the payroll legislation, because the two often over the years have gone hand in hand. When you think about some people remember EDI, that way of communicating with HMRC. We've now got RTI, and everything goes over the internet. So the technology we use is changing all the time, and so again, you need developers who know that. And I was lucky to be there. Just reiterates what Vicky was saying about you've got to learn what's needed, and so I was able to do that. That really helped me when we had a big project. Try not to get too technical, but our Windows application, we had to upgrade it to .NET. Now that's just a bit of technology, but we had 1.5 million lines of code across 5 applications, and that took over 2 years to complete. It was interesting when we started because most of my colleagues wanted to start with payroll, but I was dead against that. I think payroll is far too important. If we're going to try something new, I have to try it on something, first of all, with much smaller impact and a much smaller product as well. So we went with our health and safety module that we had at the time, and if we slipped on the timescales, that wasn't going to be too much of a problem. Obviously, you slip with payroll, you miss year end. That's just an absolute no-no. It's quite it's quite gracious of my colleagues actually to all of them said afterwards individually that we've made the right decision by not doing payroll, and then when we did do payroll, we were able to make a much better job of it than we would have done. Sorry, I was going to say similarly, 5 years ago, my payroll knowledge came to my aid again when I moved over to Morepay. The job in Morepay was to create a new web app, and all my skills are on Windows apps, so that it's a different technology, and I didn't really have the skills that were required. But with my payroll knowledge, I was able to persuade the team that I'd be a good fit, and I'm sure I could learn the web stuff in not much time. But knowing payroll was a huge help to the team. So it really came to my aid there.
Yeah, it's been great to hear how your payroll knowledge it's kind of carved you out a niche almost at your old company where you're a developer, but you have that payroll side as well, and it opened you up to new projects that other people either might not want to take part in or don't have the skills to take part in. Yeah, it's very interesting to hear how that it's almost like additional knowledge has made you successful in various roles. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, and our next theme is building a solid foundation for the future. So what you can kind of do now and yourself in your team that sets you up for the future. And going back to Vicky Graham, how did you make the transition from the kind of marketing roles into the leadership positions that you're in? I know you're still working marketing in the CIPP, but I thought it's quite an interesting transition.
Yeah, thanks. And it is, and it's funny because until you asked the question, I probably hadn't really fully appreciated that there had been that transition because it's just felt so natural. And I think that's because, and we heard a lot from Victoria and David just then about the transferable skills, and in marketing and in payroll, those transferable skills to support the transition into leadership are there and they're so important. So if I think about within my own career and my own transition, things like communication skills are really, really important. In marketing, obviously, that's one of the first things you learn is about effective communication. And within payroll, the human role of payroll is so important. You know, technology is there to support the processing and the transactional side. But as we've all talked about on this webinar, there's that real emotive and personal side to payroll where communication is fundamental and so important, both from communication within your department with your peers, but also with your customers, whether those are your clients or whether they're your employees in the organisation. So communication skills are so important. I think as well, project management, how often have we within the profession implemented new software, and David's just talked about, you know, the code, the lines of code that he had to implement and some changes that he was making. How often have we had to implement new software and manage that as a project, which again, as you're transitioning from a more junior role into a leadership role, really important skills to take with you. Myself, I've gone through at CIPP, I think now 3 system implementation projects, which has all been really useful in thinking about how I manage my time, my team's time, again, how I communicate with the relevant stakeholders. So that's all been really helpful and important. And data analysis as well, again, incredibly important in that transition. In marketing, we're expected to, the role of marketing is to anticipate market needs. So data analysis to support that is so important. And again, I can link that into payroll. I talked earlier about the human role of payroll, about how payroll professionals are looking at what they can introduce in their organisations that's going to benefit employees. And the data that's held within payroll systems is so important and crucial to that. And kind of understanding how to analyse that, how to interpret that data and use that to introduce new benefits and look at the wider business strategy around employee engagement and retention is so important. And it's all those things that really help you when you're moving into that leadership position, because you're able to demonstrate these skills, you're able to communicate those skills effectively, and you're able to talk the language that your C-suite is interested in terms of KPIs and ROI and that kind of thing. If I think about my own career journey, I've been at CIPP for 20 years, and as you said, started as an administrator. I think the most challenging part of that transition into leadership is actually the move from being an administrator and therefore working with colleagues at a peer level to progressing your career, whether that's a linear step up or whether that's kind of a bit squiggly and sidestepping and then moving into different areas. But your relationships with your peers change throughout that transition, and I think that's perhaps the most challenging part. But again, if you think about those skills, and particularly communication, being open, transparent, and having effective communication with people at different levels in the business, that all supports you in making that transition easier and having that shift in relationship from perhaps peer to line management, which obviously comes with a different skill set and requirements that you have to implement quite quickly and often overnight.
Yeah, that's very true, and that can be quite a challenging thing, isn't it? There's slightly changing roles and relationships that just happen one day to the next. So yeah, I think that's very interesting and insightful point. And yeah, still on this theme, Dudley, you obviously had to build many teams in your careers, and we were talking recently, you had an interesting points about how you kind of blended different people with different skills or maybe even different attitudes to create like a team. So I was wondering, how did you build diversity in a team to ensure success?
I don't think anyone's called me interesting before, so I'll take that. Thank you. Yeah, right. So blending experienced employees with new talent, I think that's really what we're talking about here. So that's a powerful strategy for driving innovation, improving like the services more payroll or any business can offer. And if I just kind of explain like early on in my career, so I joined big like US bank as a graduate many years ago. I spent 15 years there, so that was like my first sort of proper job. So that's a long time to spend in any organisation, particularly when it's your first role. And I did move around a lot within that organisation, but what became very apparent is I've been working with the same people for like a long time, and I think that kind of made me a little bit, using the word institutional, right? But it was kind of I learned how things work at the bank, not necessarily how things work in like the big wide world. So I went back to university. So I did a postgraduate course at like Warwick Business School. And I think to be honest, I think that was the making of me, because I was interacting with other leaders, like sharing best practice. So I learned like up to date like leadership and like business techniques. And I was probably like 9 or 10 years into my career at the bank. So I think what I learned externally by interacting with those people, and probably similar to what Vicky was talking about earlier about networking, it was amazing. So what I was able to bring back into the bank, the business, and contribute to like drive change and innovation, it really like propelled my career. And ever since then, I've been very mindful that not to have a team of people that have been doing the same thing, working together for many years. It's creating that diversity within the team is really important. So I think some of the things that does. I mean, like a good example would be, so I've got three boys, and like my eldest boy, he's better than me on the computer, right? And so I think what we need to embrace that cross-generational. So what you need is the really experienced people that know payroll inside out. They know what the company culture is. They know what the vision is, so they can keep the team or things on track. But then you need that fresh perspective, like the new ideas to come in and blend. And in my experience, if that's done badly, it can be quite disruptive or create a toxic culture. So as a leader, you need to be very mindful about how you bring those individuals together, and show them the way that there's a lot to be gained on both sides. So if you listen to the experienced person, there's a lot of knowledge that they can give you, and then if you're the experienced person, there's lots of new ways of working that you can embrace. And if you get that right, if you get that mix right, so the innovation and like the productivity gains as a business, the service that you provide, it really excels. And it's also really good for like business continuity as well. Obviously, you need like newer people coming in to keep the business moving forward. So I think, yeah, I think for me, like blending experienced employees with new talent, it's a win-win strategy. You've got to promote that knowledge transfer, you've got to foster innovation in the world that we live in. Yeah, like the pace just keeps speeding up. So you've got to keep refreshing those skills. I think one thing that I try and do as well, so all those things that I learned many years ago are no longer relevant. So part of the trick as well is actually learn new things and to also unlearn the things that aren't relevant anymore. I think technology, I mean, like David, I'm sure you gave some good examples earlier about Windows and stuff. I mean, that's all stuff you just need to unlearn and move on. So if you're not creating a team where when you bring in those like forward-thinking people in, you just get stuck with all those old ways of thinking that are no longer applicable anymore. But payroll's changed a lot in recent years. It's going to continue to change. So you've got to create teams that are set up to succeed in that environment, and also on a personal level as well. So people that want to have a successful career, you've got to embrace that. Just learn from those people, those interactions that you have.
Yeah, very true. And I think what I found from your stories as a manager is kind of how what relationships are in managing those and how you should be proactive in how you build those and how you build them, which is really good skill to have and very important, obviously, for a good, healthy work culture as well. So, very good points. Yeah. We've got a few minutes left. I'm hoping we might have time for these. We'll see how we go. But we'll definitely time for stories. Something we talk about more is setting yourself up as the obvious choice for promotion, which means when a manager is looking around at people in the team who would be a great person to interview for this role, someone jumps out. And you must be this person, Victoria, because you've had so many different roles and promotions in more. I wondered, how do you set yourself up as this choice?
I think there's a couple of things, and I think we've all spoke about it in the fact of, I think a positive attitude goes a long way. As payroll is very reactive. It's very reactive, and I think sometimes, like Dudley said, payroll can go wrong. But if you have a positive attitude and show that you're a team player, demonstrate your ability to collaborate with others in a positive work environment, your name will get out there. For me, when I've gone for these different roles is to see, I mean, they're not going to come to you, right? You've got to go and seek the roles that you want. Communication is another one. Make sure you've got your good relationships within the business. I personally think having a mentor within the business is key. All the managers that I've had previously, I've always looked to them for guidance. What's my next step? What can you advise me? Because a good manager will push you to go forward with your role. Continual learning is another big thing for me. Never stop learning in payroll. It's forever changing. Legislation, everything changes. So keep yourself relevant, keep yourself up to date. And I think by personal branding, getting yourself out there when it comes to the decision of, is there anybody that could step into this role, by building yourself up and having all those skills in place, your name will naturally come to team members. And I think that is about making yourself the obvious choice, is just being positive, showing the work that you can do, be a team player, embrace change, stay relevant.
Really good quote. Yeah, and it kind of ties into Vicky's point in a way, about having this positive attitude and contributing that to the team. Vicky mentioned being passionate as being kind of enduring principle of an excellent payroll profession. So it's interesting to see that kind of that's very interesting. So on time, we've got 4 minutes for David's question, and I hate to rush you, David, but I do really want to hear your answer. So Obviously, payroll is a really stable career, and that might be why many people on this call and why many of us chosen it. But it can also be exciting. I think it is very much in your role, as you've mentioned. And I just wanted to know from your perspective, where are these exciting developments in payroll? Be good opportunities for a professional kind of looking to enter new projects.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. In fact, because I do remember very early in my career somebody saying that payroll is sticky. You might change your phone every couple of years, but you stick with payroll. And you know, that's look across the panel. That's definitely the case with us. But I've been lucky in that although I've been doing payroll, I had the opportunity to go out to see one of our customers in Iceland. They were it was a previous company, I should say, but they were one of the early adopters of a product, and it didn't quite land with them as it should have done. So I went out there and was able to spend some time with them, showing them, you know, how it should be, how it's intended to be used, and also get into the technical side of the implementation. So again, it's all payroll, and that was an opportunity. And later on, I had another chance to go out to Australia with the company. This sort of goes along with what Vicky was saying about the making yourself the obvious choice. This opportunity came up for going out to Australia, go out 6 months, and yeah, somewhere I always wanted to go. And because you're out there, you've got your weekends, your evenings. So I managed to do, you know, tick quite a few things off the bucket list, while still doing the payroll as the day job. So there are always opportunities there. Just make sure you're the person that people are going to think of when those opportunities come up. Going into the future, obviously we've talked about the technologies. There's always new technologies. Currently everyone's talking about AI. So yeah, it's yeah, get on board with that. How can AI help payroll? It's not immediately obvious, but these things obviously are quite often things aren't obvious until someone does it, and then everyone else goes, oh yeah. So learn about it and see if there's any way that you think you can introduce that into your role, or you know, how you work in your company. You know, that's currently something I'm doing. How can we introduce AI into development? So we've got lots of tools available to us. So yeah, can we make the best use of them? So that's really how I feel that, you know, the opportunities come up.
That's very exciting. But yeah, a great point to kind of learn as you go, and what's kind of current and new, and trying to become the master of that, so that you can incorporate them into your job. Then it creates innovation. Great answer, and a great way to round up those stories. But now we're going to have a Q&A, where we can ask some audience questions, not just mine. I've seen we've had a few in the chats. Those up. But if you have any that you want to ask any panelists, just pop them in that question panel you should see on your screen. And it would help if you could ask which to speak to, and I'll know how to direct the question. This one, as a current payroll manager who wants to take on a greater role or challenge, how do I make my next career move? Bearing in mind there's no head of payroll position currently in my current structure. So I think that might be a good one for Dudley.
Yeah. But I think it's a lot of stuff that we spoke about. So it's around, yeah. Well, just probably reflect on some things we spoke about earlier around what it takes to be a really good manager or leader. So I think it's around keeping up to date with like the latest technologies. I think it's looking at so how do you drive that accuracy and reliability that you need in the payroll process. So for me personally, so I've done like Lean Six Sigma, so like business process management methodologies, and then I took that to the next level. I became a coach, so I started like coaching other people, which obviously important part of being a manager. So the great for process payroll, if you want to move into like leadership roles, what you need is a team of people that are going to be able to deliver that. So it's kind of developing those skills. I think it's around like being a really good communicator. I mean, I personally read a lot of like books or listen to like podcasts about leadership. I think it's around just trying to keep up to date with all that, and then a opportunity. It will come up at some point. So hopefully within the organisation that you work within, but sometimes, if not, then I'm not saying you need to leave the organisation, but hopefully it will come up in the organisation. And exactly what Vicky was saying earlier, you just want to, and David as well, you want to be the person that's at front of mind when that opportunity does arrive. Don't shy away with conversations with your current manager and the leadership team, just to say that you're aspirational, you want to get on. I think Vicky had a great idea about getting a mentor. So I don't know if you've got like a mentor. I would encourage that as well. So I think just show people that you're ambitious, you want to get on, and invest in yourself. Leverage those people around you as much as you can as well. Because I'm sure you work with like lots of great people who you can learn lots of great things from as well. So I think. If you want to progress and you're willing to kind of put the effort in and grow yourself, I'm sure it'll come. You want to keep going, keep faith.
Yeah, that's a great answer, and I think it's probably one that many people on this call can take with them as well, because I'm sure there's quite a few in a very similar position. Thanks for asking that, and thank you. And Vicky, you mentioned how you had to kind of change your communication style and relationships when you a line manager. Just on that, when you had to change overnight, what were the things that you wish you'd have learned before stepping into that position?
That's a really good question. What are the things that you wish you would have learned before stepping into that position? I think for me, particularly, I'm someone that's quite open and honest and kind of put everything out there. And that, as you progress, I've had experience where, unfortunately, that's kind of come back to bite me when I've moved up, because some people can get quite bitter about things, and they think, well, I want to progress and I haven't had that opportunity for whatever that reason might be. Again, if I come back to it, I've always been open and honest with everybody. So to Dudley's point, when I've wanted to progress my career at CIPP, I've had those conversations with my line manager and with the appropriate people, and I've said, this is where I want to be. How can I get there? Because I can see that position's not in the structure. How can you help me get there? What can I do to get there? And I've always had that mentality and attitude. And unfortunately, in my career, I've had experience where I've been, friends and at a peer level and a colleague level, where I've progressed more quickly than they have. There's one particular instance where I became head of department. I was 23 years old, and someone within my team who I'd worked with for a number of years, who was older than me, already had a marketing degree from university that I hadn't got because I didn't go to university, felt as though they should have had that opportunity. They didn't apply for that position. They didn't talk to anyone about wanting that position until they saw that I was in it. And that was quite a challenge. And I think for me, what I wish I'd learned is actually not everyone is as open and as honest and transparent as perhaps I was or you might be, and it's just knowing then how to be resilient in dealing with kind of some of the negativity and comments that come from that, and we managed that, and we had a relationship where, again, I was open, transparent, talked about everything, put it all out there, said, look, I wasn't aware you wanted that position. This isn't something we'd ever spoken about before. It's not something that you had spoken to our manager about. It's only now that it's coming out. So let's work on that. Let's see what I can now do in this position to help you to progress and to get there in the future. And whilst it was challenging, we did develop a relationship where we were able to do that. And they were then able to progress and move up as well.
It sounds like a very difficult position, and I'm sure a few people have experienced something similar, but it sounds like you handled it very gracefully, and it's like you've got a successful relationship that and managed to support them as a manager too, so really it worked out great for them as well. Thanks for that insight. That's a very open response. Another question, this one's for Victoria, just quite a general question, but why did you decide to work in payroll?
I think you fall into payroll a lot of the time. It's the best thing that I ever did. Obviously, I came from a retail background, and then I came to Morpay, and I've been at Morpay for the last 8.5 years. Difficult one. I mean, obviously I started in the auto enrollment department, and the more that you learn about stuff and the more interested I got. And because it's forever changing, I mean, no day is ever the same. Every day is different, and you're constantly learning. And for me, that makes me want to come to work every day. So.
Yeah, so you kind of almost fell into it, but
it's the best thing that I ever did. Yeah, I don't think I ever fell into. So.
Yeah, I've heard that quite a lot, that people say they fall into payroll, but they're saying it for other benefits. So yeah. And yes, one for David. So I guess this might be coming from the payroll ops person or payroll processor. Do you think becoming a developer is a good or practical move for a payroller? Would it be too drastic a change, in your opinion?
That's a difficult one, really. Developing is a particular skill. I love developing, so yeah, if you want to be a developer, it's great. I think it's wonderful. That said, I was having a conversation yesterday with someone who is a developer, very new to the role, and they were saying that they're not particularly comfortable with it. So if you've got payroll experience and there's a developer position available in developing payroll software, then I would suggest you consider it, definitely. But make sure you're happy going into development. If you've got a Raspberry Pi at home and you do your own coding and you know you love it, then yeah, definitely go for it. If you've never done any coding before, I would say try some before you go for that role. Coding itself is easy to learn, but there's loads of different bits of technology which then make it complicated. People will be telling you things, and when you start, you won't necessarily understand what they're talking about. Once you've got a few months experience, you'll know. It's one of those things, if you know, you know. So a cautious yes, I think, is my answer.
Yeah, it sounds like it is a skill set within itself. So maybe if people have those two passions, it could be a good one.
Yeah.
And I know we're almost midday and just to go to. So I will very quickly wrap up for you. So we've got, this is the second webinar in our series of 3. If you visit that web link at the bottom, or just go to our website and find our resources and webinars in our knowledge centre, you can watch back the previous one on how to progress, which is less of a panel webinar and more of a how-to. And also sign up to our next one on embracing neurodiversity. It's going to be very exciting and discussing how neurodivergent people can excel within the payroll industry and how to do that with our own Sybil Watkins, Group Product Legislation Manager. Yeah, that's it on the Knowledge Centre. It's on our website, and there's also loads of other fantastic payroll and HR resources made by experts like those in the room, and it's free to use and accessible. You don't have to put your email address in, so go to town on there. We've also got a webinar coming up in October. It's a conversation with our 2 leaders, Anthony Vollmer and Jason Dowsell, which is Natural HR's co-founder. We'll be discussing our acquisition of Natural HR, giving a little demo so that you can explore our kind of improved product set. And you also get a free coffee when you attend. So do check that out. It's also on the Knowledge Centre under webinars. Yeah, and if you are considering getting any payroll support, check out our Trustpilot and see what you think about the reviews. Obviously, we're always happy to discuss any requirements right for you in a no pressure environment, and just pop something in the question panel and we'll get one of our advisors to give you an email. And that's it from us. So thank you everyone so much for attending. I personally really enjoyed listening to our panelists say, so I hope you have too. And we'll see you next time.